Today we'll be finishing up my book called Paul from Preacher to Prisoner. And on this missionary journey of this book, we have seen third missionary journey. We have seen Paul encourage and strengthen churches that he's established before and create new churches. We've also seen other disciples step up also to be traveling preachers and missionaries as well. Once Paul arrives back in Jerusalem at the end of this book, he is arrested, mostly because the Jewish crowd creates such an uproar over his presence. However, due to his Roman citizenship, the commander cannot jail or beat Paul without a trial. The commander tries to have Paul before the Sanhedrin to see what charges to bring, but that also starts a heated discussion among the members of the Sanhedrin. So Paul is brought back to the barracks for his own safety. But the Jewish mob against Paul has not stopped. They want to kill him at all costs. Let's see what happens next. So we are in chapter 11. We've already completed all chapters 1 through 10. And now we're going to go to 11, which is a plot to kill. Okay. Plot to kill Paul, Acts 23, 12 through 24.
Okay. The next morning, Jews formed a conspiracy on bound themselves with an oath not to eat or drink until they had killed Paul. More than 40 men were involved in this plot.
So formed a conspiracy means designed a plot. And we actually have a timeline of these events because Paul will give a date and time and it proves out to be true. So I put that timeline there. When did this happen?
Next morning.
Right. Looking at the timeline below, how many days since Paul had arrived in Jerusalem did this happen?
10 days.
Okay. What did this group of Jews decide?
Not to eat or drink until they killed Paul.
I have, okay. I was reading my timeline and number 9 threw me, but then I understood what that meant. Okay. I think that's still wrong. All right. Oh yeah, I know what that is. Okay. Did we say what this group of Jews decide? They decide to kill Paul. How many Jewish men were involved in the plot?
40.
Why were they so mad that they made this conspiracy? What had Paul done that instigated this amount of anger?
Going against the law.
Going against the Jewish law. Yeah, the Jewish law. And yeah.
Okay. They went to the chief priest and the elders and said, "We have taken a solemn oath not to eat anything until we have killed Paul. Now then, you and the Sanhedrin petitioned the commander to bring him before you on the pretext of wanting more accurate information about his case. We are ready to kill him before he gets here."
Right. So they develop this plot and they go to Sanhedrin and tell the people in the Sanhedrin, the Jewish leaders, this is what we're going to do. So now this is your part in the plan. Who did this group of conspirators tell about their plot to kill Paul?
The chief priests and elders.
What did they ask the Sanhedrin to do?
Petition the commander to bring him before you and put
right.
I can't even read my writing, of wanting more accurate information about his case.
When are they planning to kill Paul?
Before he gets here.
Do you think the Sanhedrin will do what they say?
Yes.
Looking back to when Paul was in front of the Sanhedrin the first time, did some of the Sanhedrin look like they were on his side?
Yeah.
Therefore, do you think this group brought it to all the Sanhedrin or just the Sadducees of the council?
Sadducees.
Right. Just to be clear, does God condone killing and lying?
Yes.
Wait, what? Number 7. Does God condone killing and lying?
Yes, he condones it.
No, he doesn't condone killing and lying. God never wants you to lie.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, it says, does God condone? That is, does he want? Does he allow? Condone
No,
means allow.
condone means not to allow.
No, no. But anyway,
Condone. Yep.
okay,
Condone
okay.
means not
We're
to.
both in agreement. That word is probably a
Yeah.
wrong one then. Yet they feel justified to lie and kill because Paul is doing what?
Because Paul is leading them astray.
According to them, yeah.
Yeah. But when the son of Paul's sister heard of this plot, he went into the barracks and told Paul. Then Paul called one of the centurions and said, "Take this young man to the commander. He has something to tell you." So he took him to the commander.
Right. So this is interesting to me that God finds a way. I mean, little kids maybe wandering around in the Sanhedrin, able to listen, and nobody thinks a little child is going to be able to do anything. It's just interesting how God sets this all up. Who heard about the plot?
Son of Paul's sister.
This is fascinating. We know that Jesus will protect Paul from getting killed because Jesus promised him that he would be testifying in Rome. But of all people, he picks a young boy to save Paul. Why? Is it possible that no one would suspect the boy to be honest and truthful? Or perhaps they didn't even worry about him hearing what was planned. What do you think? How did this happen?
The boy was no threat.
Right. Yeah. It's just children, no big deal. And they didn't realize that this was the perfect thing for God to use. Who did the young boy go to with the information?
The commander.
Well, not yet. He went first to Paul,
Oh.
right? He went first to Paul. He hasn't gone to the commander yet.
Oh, you're right.
What were the centurions doing around and near Paul?
Guarding Paul.
Right. In this situation, there was a lot of people that Paul had to trust to make this all work. What did he have to trust in each individual? How about his nephew?
Hear it correctly, and tell the commander.
Right. How about the centurion?
To take Paul's nephew to the commander.
And then the commander himself?
Will believe the boy.
Right. All this is set into place, and all this has to do with trust. Why did Paul not tell the centurion what his nephew told him?
More believable from the boy than hearsay.
Yeah, isn't this strange what God does? How he's able to work right through the system.
The centurion said, "Paul, the prisoner, sent for me and asked me to bring this young man to you because he has something to tell you." The commander took the young man by the hand, drew him aside, and asked, "What is it you want to tell me?" He said, "Some Jews have agreed to ask you to bring Paul before the Sanhedrin tomorrow on the pretext of wanting more accurate information about him. Don't give in to them because more than 40 of them are waiting in ambush for him. They have taken an oath not to eat or drink until they have killed him. They are ready now, waiting for your consent to their request."
How did the commander treat the young man?
To him by the hand and drew him aside.
Right. He treated him nicely. Would the commander have been as open and friendly to a person telling the story if it was a full-grown man?
No.
No. How beautiful this is that God uses. Did the boy tell about the plot accurately?
Yes.
Look back at when the plot started to when the conspirators told the chief priest and elders. Then look at what the boy was able to tell the commander. Where do you think he was to have heard it all?
When he was telling the chief priests and elders.
Yeah, in the Sanhedrin itself. So somehow the little boy was wandering around in the Sanhedrin where they meet. How timely is the boy telling the commander? How soon is it going to happen?
Yes, it was timely. It will happen in the morning.
Right. Now, is it all the responsibility? Now it is all the responsibility of the commander. What is he going to do? Obviously, we know he will protect Paul, but how?
He will not give into the request.
Yeah, that's what we think anyway.
Yeah. The commander dismissed the young man with this warning: "Don't tell anyone that you have reported this to me." Then he called 2 of his centurions and ordered them, "Get ready a detachment of 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen to go to Caesarea at 9 tonight. Provide horses for Paul so that he may be taken safely to Governor Felix."
What warning did he give the young man?
Not to tell anyone,
Why did the commander not want the young man to say anything to anyone?
because it's suspicious.
Right. Well, because he didn't want anything to get out that he knew, because he wanted this taken care of before anybody found out. List all the soldiers he called.
200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen.
Right. And 2 of his centurions, of course. What time are they going towards Caesarea?
9
Caesarea?
p.m.
9 p.m. Who's the commander sending Paul to?
Governor Felix.
Why is the word horse plural in verse 24?
Probably to for his clothes and supplies or what have you.
Right. Yeah. He is being very generous to Paul. He's providing him a couple horses for his goods as well as maybe someone traveling with him. Don't know. But
Yeah.
that's being very generous. Perhaps we will learn that in the verses to follow, which, of course, this is the end of this book. So it ends on a climatic front. Is he going to send them out? So anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this chapter. I'm going to